Okay, so first of all, thank you for doing this interview with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I enjoy doing it.
So where were you born?
In Enterprise, Mississippi. It's a
Okay.
little town not too far. It's between Jackson, which is their capital, and another city that's a little large called Meridian. It's just a little town.
What was it like for African Americans in your area? Were they the minority? Were they the majority? Was there a lot of like racial tension in that area?
Where I was born?
Yes.
No, there was not a lot because it's just a little town and there were not many people there, and they never did have to confront each other about different things. They just seemed to get along together.
Oh, that's wonderful. What experience had your parents faced regarding like racial tension and racism? Did they ever talk about it?
Oh yes. For one thing, they couldn't vote, and they didn't like that at all. And then there was a senator from down there who was always just being so derogatory toward people who were the minority, and so they talked about that a lot. And he was in Washington D.C., but he didn't really help people in the South very much. So when my dad finally came north, he wouldn't write him or talk to him anything when he was down in Mississippi. But when he got up north, he started writing him letters and telling him what he didn't like and things like that. But yes, they.
Okay, so my follow-up question was, how did they react to these situations? So that's how he responded, was once he moved up north, he like kind of voiced his opinion.
Yes, but he came north because he wanted a better life, especially for the boys in our family.
What was like keeping them from having a better life where they were?
Well, for one thing, and it's kind of a harsh situation, a harsh thing that went on, but he worked in the cotton mill, and they made material cloth for soldiers and for people for military people. And one day when he was going to work, when he got to work, they were talking about something that had happened. Some little white girl said that two little boys had asked her an unfair question. And so then he was talking about that, and then the next day when he went to work, one of them was 9 years old and one was 11, and they were each strung up on sides of the bridge that he had to cross. So then that's why he decided that they should move north so that my brothers especially would have a more safe life.
That absolutely makes sense. So of the schools you went to, like kind of like elementary and primary schools, what was the general like demographic? Was it primarily black or white, or did it not matter?
It was when I was down in Mississippi.
Yes.
It was the whole little school that I went to was all black, and I just went to like preschool, but they call it a primer. That was as far as I went there, because then we moved, and when we moved, then I was actually in first grade.
Did you have more black classmates and teachers, or were there white teachers as well?
In the north.
Well, no, in Mississippi.
Oh, in Mississippi there were black teachers, and we had like primer through 8th grade in one little school.
Would you say you had like pretty equal educational opportunities as primarily white schools? Or?
No.
No. In what ways were they different?
Well, we were in an old building, and we had old books and things, and even when we had to go to school, we had to walk, and the white kids got to ride on the bus, and they were, call us names and stuff like that.
Oh, I see. So more into like your adult life, where did you live after you were married?
After I was married, I lived in Hammond.
Okay. So did you decide to stay there?
Oh yes, even after I got married.
Yes.
Yes, I decided to stay there because I liked Hammond. It's just a little town, but I liked it. And also, I always said I wanted to be the first black teacher, because I never saw any teachers my race, or anybody in the Hammond schools. There were no custodians, no lunch people, nobody of color. So I always say, well, I want to stay here so I can be the first black teacher.
So as you were, like, when you were growing up in school and you were about to graduate from, like, college, like, what historically was going on at the time that was pretty significant for you? Was there anything really, like, important going on at that time?
Well, Martin Luther King was still carrying on his marches and things like that, and I admired him. Even after I got married, I wanted to go and join him. But my husband said, no, but you don't know all the things that are going on in these marches, so they just highlight the things that are good. So, but there were marches going on, and we even did some sympathy marches up north for the lunchroom, for the lunch counters, because they wouldn't let us eat there. And so a lot of kids from the north went down there, and most of them were Caucasians. They went down there and did sit-ins and things like that. And so we didn't do sit-ins here in Hammond, but our family, my dad, my mom, and different people in my family walked around on the front of Kresge's, it was called a 5 and 10 cent store. And we walked around there to try to show sympathy for the ones in the South.
I see. So what or who influenced you to fight the oppressive school system? Like the fact that there were no teachers of your race, and that people weren't really open to that. What influenced you, or who influenced you, like, to be the change?
Well, I really wanted to, but I didn't realize I was going to have to go through all of this, because my grades were good, my conduct was good, because my parents would look at our conduct record before they looked at academics. And so I figured, well, you know, I'm here in Hammond, I'm going to school, and they know all about me. And then when I went to school, I went to a state school. I said, well, if I go here and do really well, when I go back to apply, you know, I'll probably just walk in. And that's what I thought. But during my senior year, I asked to be able to student teach in Hammond, and I got that permission. And so then about part of the way through, I asked the superintendent if I could come and see him and thank him for giving me the opportunity. He said, sure. So when I went there, he said, well, I've been hearing you doing some great things there. I said, yes, I'm really enjoying it. In fact, I'm enjoying my teaching experience so much, I want to teach here when I get out of college, you know, in a few months. So he said, well, oh, and I want an application. He said, no, I can't give you an application because Hammond is not ready for a black teacher. Then he didn't say that. He said, a colored teacher, Hammond. And that's kind of a derogatory way to talk to people. So then I went on back and finished my student teaching. And then my dad said, now make another appointment with him. And this time I'm going with you. And so I made the appointment. He told me to come in on a Saturday morning. I didn't tell him my dad was coming with me. So I came, and when we got there, we just came, and he was a little surprised to see my dad. And we just kind of talked a little, and I thanked him. And before I could finish thanking him, my dad said, Mr. Caldwell, did you say that Hammond is not ready for a black teacher right now? And that's why you can't hire Annie. So he said, yes, I did say that. So we went on, we talked a little bit more, and then my dad said, Mr. Caldwell, did you really tell Annie that she couldn't teach her because she's black? You know, he said, well, Reverend, actually, the board won't let me hire colored teachers. The board has my hands tied. So then I went back to Ball State because I was coming out in 3 years, and so I went back to summer so I could finish up my degree. And my dad kept in touch with Mr. Caldwell. So he would call him, and he would write him. He loved to write letters. And he would write him. Finally, Mr. Caldwell said, Reverend, if Annie gets a job here, it'll be over my dead body. So then my dad and I got together, and he said, well, Annie, this is a wall. It has to come down, and you're the one who has to do it. And I said, yes, sir.